Hello friends, and welcome back to another tutorial video on Adobe Photoshop. Today we're going to be talking about selections and masks. One of the things that I find to be very valuable is the idea of being able to save your selections while you're working. This is a skill that you're definitely going to see on the certification test. So it's something we want to practice how to create or how to use them. And then this will be something you can use as you're working in order to save your selections. What I've given you on this worksheet today is something that kind of looks like a postcard. So in addition to loading our selections, we're going to do a little bit with the transform commands as well. So I've given you some text, which we're not really going to work with. So I'm going to go ahead and lock our text. And I've given you a bird and a marsh image. So I'm going to select my bird image, and then I'm going to go to select, load selections. Now I've already given you the selection. I went ahead and took care of it for you, bird one, and I'm going to say okay. What I want you to see is this is the selection that I had already been working on. So let's say that you had an image that's kind of complex. This one's not super complex, but it's a little, like you can see I messed it up right here, and you wanted to work on this later and adjust it later. You have the ability to go back into quick mask mode or use your selection tools or your lasso or whatever it is that you like to use depending on your particular preferences, and you can adjust that selection or continue to work on that selection, which I think is really valuable to have. The one thing I'm going to share with you, however, is when you load the selection, if you move the image in any way, the selection is not going to lock to the image layer. It just locks to the canvas or to the artboard, depending on what you're working on. So if I were to move this image, which I'll do real quick, let's say it was over here, and I went to load the selection that I just showed you, you'll see that the selection no longer lines up with my image. So that's an important distinction to keep in mind. So you do have to keep it right where it would be, okay? Once we've gotten that, we're going to create a non-destructive layer mask. Please remember how we do that is we want to ensure that we have the opportunity to go back and adjust things. So I'm going to set a non-destructive layer mask. Remember that that is going to go here. The black makes a layer mask, gray is a vector mask, so that I can edit, change, delete, all that type of thing, and I have not compromised my original image. I'm also going to flip my bird here, and I'm going to ask you to figure out which way you're going to transform to flip this bird that makes the most sense. I'm going to pause and do it really quickly. Hopefully you didn't see what I did. And then the last thing we're going to do is I am going to unlock my text layers right now, and I'm going to add a drop shadow to both. That's just, again, kind of practicing using multiple skills while we're working through how to do various different things. So I'm going to turn this up and make adjustments. One of the things I always like to remind my students when we work is no setting for a layer style should be set to the default. I always go through and manipulate each one individually. Sometimes larger text, in my opinion, needs a different shadow than smaller text. How can you use this skill when working in projects using Adobe Photoshop? Something to keep in mind. So while we're thinking about this, think about how you're also going to be able to save and load your selections. Again, once you have a selection, you can come here to save selection in order to save those selections as you're working. If you like this, make sure you like the video and follow for more. Thanks, friends.